Hello and welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast. How are you and how's your year started? At the time of this recording, it's late January here in Australia. We're in the heart of summer with the kids gearing up to start a new school year. For many, summer is a time of joy and adventure. Sadly, it's also has also become fire season here in Victoria and in other parts of the country. That term alone is a reminder of how much has changed, especially since the Black Saturday Bushfires on February 7, 2009, a day that took away more than just lives, homes and landscapes. It took away our innocent way of doing life during the summer months, leaving an inerasable mark on our state and its people. On that day, 173 lives were lost, 450,000 hectares burned, and over 3,500 buildings, including more than 2,000 homes, were destroyed. For me, it was supposed to be a day of celebration. On a hot and very windy day, we were christening our firstborn baby girl, a joyful day full of faith and hope and family and friends. At the time, I was managing the world's greatest commercial hot air balloon operation, Global Ballooning Australia. As we were leaving the church service and heading to the reception, the owner of Global Ballooning at the christening with his family quietly excused themselves. "The Yarra Valley is on fire," he whispered to me as he said, "Goodbye, we have to go." Yarra Valley, where he and his family lived, was also where we held our entire operation and equipment fleet. And all of it was in immense danger, including a lot of our team lived locally in the region. The remainder of that day and that evening was overshadowed by fear and uncertainty, not knowing. So we're there Greek dancing, celebrating, but at the back of my mind, I was just what's happening a short hour drive away. By nightfall, the devastation was unimaginable. What started as a summer day and became one of the darkest in our Victorian history. The fires shattered that belief that summer could always be carefree. Fast forward to today, and we're seeing similar heartbreak. In Victoria's Grampians region, bushfires have returned for the second consecutive year, threatening one of our most treasured tourism destinations and our tourism brothers and sisters. One alone reported a loss of over 700 bookings. Globally, of course, Los Angeles wildfires have burned thousands upon thousands of acres, destroying thousands of homes and taken lives. Once again, highlighting the universal nature of these disasters. Now, the reason for this, for this episode and this topic, I have been very heavily involved in reviewing a lot of risk management templates, emergency plans, and the like through the work that I'm doing for the Quality Tourism Business Program in support of sustainable tourism accreditation. Organisations like ATIC, the Australian Tourism Industry Council, and VTIC, the Victorian Tourism Council, and all the other TICs, all the other tourism councils across the country, constantly helping businesses navigate these challenges and potential challenges through, it's not just risk management, it's resilience planning and support to gain their sustainable tourism accreditation. Now, this is work I've been very proud to be involved in that further highlights this importance of planning. This isn't just tourism business talk though, or regional tourism talk, or high-risk area talk. Another cruel reminder of this came just a couple of days before Christmas in my personal sphere and network when news broke that my dear friend's brother lost his home to a fire caused by a Christmas tree decoration. Now, this is a suburban home in the southeast of Melbourne, nowhere near bush, where only days before the holidays their lives were turned upside down by a fire that burnt down their home within 10 minutes. From what I understand, started from an electrical fire caused from a Christmas decoration. These events, both near and far, make it very clear that preparation and resilience are essential for our businesses, our lives, and our wonderful communities. Now, as I currently review all the quality tourism business training material and supporting material, today I want to dust off all the crisis management and communication training materials that I have delivered. It's a combination of personal experience and risk mitigation, running and helping run a successful commercial hot air balloon operation. And really what I've delivered over the last decade in my training world to just give the simplest, most practical models to help frame your thinking and your planning, and share this with whoever may also find this beneficial. Who knows? Might even inspire you to get in touch with your tourism council and pursue a sustainable tourism accreditation for your business or your community. Now, there are many types of crises. It's not just fire or floods or earthquakes. Now, when we do think about crisis, natural disasters often come to mind. And while these are significant and devastating, they're not the only crisis that can impact our business and our lives. A crisis is defined as any disruption or issue that triggers negative stakeholder reactions, threatens a business's reputation, or disrupts operations. Crisis can come in many forms, and understanding the different types is key to being prepared. So let's explore a few categories of crisis that business commonly face. Starting off with number 1, financial crisis. A financial crisis happens when a business struggles to meet its financial obligations or suffers a sharp decline in revenue. This could stem from external factors like an economic downturn or internal mismanagement of resources. For example, a tourism business reliant on international visitors only may face financial strain during a global pandemic or economic slowdown, a pandemic, especially if they haven't diversified their offerings. Preparing for a financial crisis could mean performing regular financial health checks, maintaining an emergency fund, and diversifying revenue streams to cushion against any type of these downturns. Number 2, technological crisis. In today's tech-driven world, a technological crisis can disrupt operations overnight. Imagine if your online booking platform crashes during peak season, or if a cyber attack compromises your customer data. These issues don't just disrupt business, they can erode customer trust and result in legal or financial consequences. Preparing for a technological crisis could involve investing in secure, reliable technology, conducting regular system updates, and developing a robust data backup and cyber security strategy. It can be as simple as fix your password management and outsourcing to a password management system and not using the same password that 20 people have access to. It could be as simple as that. Something to think about. Number 3, personnel crisis. A personnel crisis arises when an employee or a company rep is involved in unethical or illegal behaviour. Or it could be an employee that is underperforming and, flying under the radar. Imagine what that can be as a crisis moving forward when an employee is just dropping the ball. So the other things, that this could range from publicised misconduct to workplace discrimination allegations. Such events can damage a business's reputation and morale. Preparing for a personnel crisis could involve implementing strong HR policies, conducting regular ethics training, conducting regular reviews, and establishing a clear crisis communication plan to address personnel issues swiftly, professionally, and promptly. Number 4 is operational crisis. Operational crisis occurs when something disrupts the day-to-day functioning of a business. For example, supply chain disruptions, equipment failures, or even overbooked tours that result in customer dissatisfaction can cause operational chaos. Preparing for an operational crisis could mean identifying potential bottlenecks in your processes, creating contingency plans, and ensuring your staff are trained to handle these disruptions calmly and efficiently. We move on to number 5, reputational crisis. A reputational crisis can arise from negative publicity, social media backlash, or customer complaints that go viral. For instance, a poorly handled guest complaint could spiral into a PR nightmare if shared widely online. Preparing for a reputational crisis could mean monitoring your online presence, responding to feedback promptly and professionally, and having a dedicated team or individual ready to manage public relations during a crisis. And of course, there is natural disasters. Natural disasters like fires, floods, and earthquakes and tsunamis can significantly impact a business. But, landslides, that's something else that's happened in our state of not New South Wales, here in Victoria. In Victoria, landslides. Beyond physical damage, these events can lead to prolonged closures and financial losses. Preparing for a natural disaster could involve ensuring your business is insured for such events, creating a detailed evacuation plan, and building relationships with local emergency services to stay informed and supported. Understanding the many different types of crisis a business faces highlights the importance of crisis awareness. Now, as we've covered, crisis can strike in many forms, often when we least expect it. By understanding these different types, you can start building resilience and a robust crisis management plan tailored to your business's unique vulnerabilities. With that foundation in place, let's explore how crises develop over time and how we can categorize them further into creeping, slow burn, and sudden crisis. Let's start with understanding stages of crisis. Effective crisis management begins with an audit, and Jonathan Bernstein, founder of Bernstein Crisis Management, offers a framework that explains it best. Jonathan sums up crisis prevention perfectly when he says crisis prevention at its best is the organisational equivalent of a medical full body scan. He breaks crisis down into those 3 main categories: creeping crisis, slow burn crisis, and sudden crisis. Each of these requires a unique approach to mitigate and manage and understand the differences is the key to staying prepared. So let's start by breaking these down with some real-world examples to show you how they can impact your business. First up, creeping crisis. These are the subtle ones, crises that develop gradually over time. They often start with small issues that seem too minor to worry about, but eventually can slowly snowball into a serious problem when it's left unaddressed. So, for example, imagine a tour operator with a fleet of vehicles used for guided tours. Over time, maintenance is deprioritized because of budget, low cash flow, constraints, or just busy schedules. Small problems like worn tires or outdated safety checks are ignored because everything's still operational, everything's still working fine. Eventually, one of those vehicles breaks down mid-tour, or worse, an accident occurs due to a preventable mechanical issue. The lesson here is that creeping crises are often the result of neglect or complacency. This is the same thing. Creeping crisis can happen in all of those 6 types of crisis. So regular monitoring, scheduled maintenance, early action on small risks to be proactive, not reactive, are essential to prevent creeping crisis from becoming full-blown disasters and disruption. Next, let's talk about slow burn crisis. These crises come with some level of advance warning, offering opportunity early to address the problem before it escalates. However, they still require proactive measures to contain the issue. Think about a hotel that starts receiving negative reviews about inconsistent service or cleanliness on travel websites and, review websites, Google and TripAdvisor and Facebook. At first, it's just a few scattered complaints, and management assumes, it's no biggie, no big deal. But as these reviews increase, they create a pattern that starts to damage the hotel's reputation. Guests begin choosing other accommodation, and we see the revenue drop. The key takeaway here, in a very small example, is that slow burn crisis can often be mitigated if the early signs are taken seriously and acted upon. Acting promptly to identify and resolve the root cause, whether it's staffing shortages, training gaps, or operational inefficiencies, can prevent the issue from spiraling out of control. Finally, we have the sudden crisis. These are the ones that strike out of nowhere, leaving no time to prepare. They're often catastrophic and require immediate action to minimize damage. For example, a natural disaster like the Black Saturday bushfires in Victoria is a sudden crisis. Many tourism businesses and many businesses in affected regions lost their facilities, their equipment, and in some cases, their livelihoods overnight. Now, as a commercial hot air balloon operation, our risk mitigation, our safety compliance, our audits were really on point. Without robust emergency plans or adequate insurance, recovery can take years, if it's even possible at all. Another example could be a data breach at a booking platform. In an instant, sensitive customer information is exposed and the company is left scrambling to contain the damage. Think about what happened with Medibank and Optus in 2024. reassuring customers and protecting your reputation is going to be a lot more difficult when that occurs. So sudden crisis highlights the importance of preparation. While you can't predict exactly when or how this will strike, hopefully never, having emergency plans, communication strategies, insurances, and contingency measures in place can significantly reduce the impact. Now, here's an important point to consider. What seems like a sudden crisis often starts as a creeping or slow burn issue. For example, the Black Saturday bushfires, while devastatingly sudden in their impact, were preceded by warning signs like extreme weather conditions and gaps in fire prevention strategies. The takeaway here is that the earlier you address risks and worst case scenarios, the better your chances of avoiding a full-scale crisis. Proactive planning and consistent vigilance are key to business resilience in your operation. So, as we move forward, think about the type of crisis that could affect your business and livelihood and leaves you completely exposed. Are there creeping risks you've overlooked? Are you seeing early signs of a slow burn issue? What steps can you take now to prevent these from escalating into something much bigger? So now I want to help you explore how to turn this understanding into some practical action. When it comes to crisis management, having a toolkit of actionable steps can make all the difference. Let's break this down into simplification and practicality for both your personal and business resilience. Now, personal and home resilience. Preparation at home is vital. So when I did speak to my girlfriend about her brother, because it was big, it was on the news, it was devastating. So when I spoke to my girlfriend, she said, man, I've had businesses, and in my business, there's always a fire extinguisher and fire blankets, but it's just something we don't have at home. And it got me thinking, because I'm in the weeds and doing this work all the time for tourism businesses, like, wow, yes, of course. This is the same. We should be operating our lives in the same way, because it doesn't, again, like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't discriminate whether you're in no bushland or, in suburbia, like what happened. We can leave ourselves as exposed and vulnerable. So as a bit of a checklist at home, and something I've created for myself, and I spoke to my own husband about, some things to consider as I have. Installing and testing your safety equipment, from your smoke detectors, your fire extinguishers, fire blankets, all should be in good working order and easy to access. So a bit of, we talk about training our teams, also our family familiarity, that we know if we have these things, where are they? Creating a family evacuation plan. It delighted me having this conversation with my colleague that said, yeah, we've done a full practice. We've got one-use ladders upstairs and we've done a practice as a family. I was like, I've never even heard of such a thing, because I'm in this zone now saying, well, we're all exposed. So creating a family evacuation plan, making sure that everyone in your house knows escape routes and practicing them regularly. Even just once is better than never. And taking a first aid course. I did this many, many years ago as part of my hospitality training, I believe, at the time. I had to do a first aid, and it really highlighted the same thought in me. Being able to, I remember my son going blue in the face because he was choking on bacon, and I just freaked out. But anyhow, taking a first aid course cannot be a bad thing, or at least one of us in our organisation or in our households being able to administer CPR or treat minor injuries could save a life. So keeping a fully stocked first aid kit in your home and your car can be a difference that makes a difference. And reviewing insurance policies, ensuring you have adequate coverage for natural disasters, emergencies, including home, health, and life insurance. All important things in our day-to-day lives as much as it is to build our business resilience. For businesses, when we look at preparation, it goes beyond the basics. So here's some things to consider on how to strengthen your tourism and hospitality or event operation. Developing a comprehensive crisis management plan. Include protocols for different types of crisis, like we talked about, from natural disasters to reputational issues. Shameless plug, enrolling into the Sustainable Tourism Accreditation Business Program. And because this is all a core requirement to become accredited, so you get the best of both worlds. You're kind of pushed to do this work and you have a great thing, a great stamp on your business that really exemplifies quality. Training your team, assigning specific roles for emergencies such as evacuation leads or communications managers, and ensuring everyone knows their responsibilities. And monitor risks regularly, conducting audits to identify hazards, assess compliance with regulations, and evaluate your business's vulnerabilities. And invest in technology, secure, reliable backup systems for critical data, using cyber security tools and implementing communication platforms to stay connected during a crisis. Now, preparation and resilience aren't just about protecting yourself, they're about supporting others. When communities are affected by crisis, recovery efforts often depend on collective support. Take, for example, regions like Grampians in Victoria or areas impacted by the Los Angeles wildfires. One of the most impactful ways to help is by visiting these destinations and inspiring and advocating these destinations to support those local businesses in their recovery phase. Tourism dollars provide a lifeline. By booking a stay or not cancelling a stay at a local motel, dining at nearby cafes, or exploring national parks, we're injecting hope and economic support into that recovery process. Your visit helps create jobs, sustain businesses, and foster a sense of normalcy for communities trying to rebuild. So the next time you're planning a holiday, consider choosing a destination that could use your support. It's a meaningful way for us when we're sitting and looking at this from a distance, and again, as someone managing a tourism business, making a difference was just holding on to that booking and not requesting that refund, or coming back to us when we had the all clear, whether it was the bushfires on Black Saturday or the pandemic or many other instances that occurred over my tenure, over the 2 decades that I held that position. Now, I wouldn't be a good trainer without some homework, and as we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a challenge, and that is conduct a crisis management audit for your life and your business. Here's what that might look like. Identify potential crisis. What creeping risks, slow burn warnings, or sudden crisis could you face in your personal or professional life? Map out the stages of response, starting with preparation. What proactive steps can you take to minimize risk? For example, ensuring you have emergency plans, conduct regular safety checks, and invest in preventative measures. What immediate steps will you take during a crisis? Think about communication strategies, evacuation procedures, and maintaining calm under pressure. I encourage you to go back and listen to podcast episode 51 of the Tourism Hub podcast, of course. Crisis Preparedness in the Tourism Industry, where I interview Mark Olsen, speaking about his experience supporting industry as the CEO of Tropical North Queensland during and post-Cyclone Jasper, the wettest tropical cyclone in Australia. I loved when he said during his keynote at the Australian Regional Tourism Convention that preparation can be as simple as finding your Ghostbusters, because in a time of crisis, who are you going to call to help, to aid, to spread the message that things are actually not as, handling the media. And then there's recovery. After the crisis, how will you rebuild? This might include supporting your team, filing insurance claims, or reaching out to affected customers. More importantly, taking the time to debrief and record what you've learned and how you could have done things better, what worked really well, what didn't work, and what did we forget altogether. This is invaluable to improve your plans and improve your future responses. And of course, there's mitigation. How can you prevent a similar crisis from happening again? Use those lessons learned in your past experience or others' past experience to strengthen your plans and adapt to new challenges. Lastly, share your plans. Make sure your team or your family understand their roles in a crisis. Regularly review and update your plan to keep it relevant and keep it timely and keep it top of mind. Okay, in closing, thank you. Thank you for tuning in today to the Tourism Hub podcast. It is with just absolute sheer pleasure and delight that we have had over 10,000 downloads of this beautiful little passion project. And if you're not yet subscribed, or wherever you are listening or watching this episode, please hit that subscribe button, because it's very encouraging to see in the data that there's listeners and that, I'm hearing and getting feedback that is providing value to your lives and your careers and your businesses. And it's encouraging to keep showing up every week. So if you hit subscribe, you won't miss a beat. The Tourism Hub podcast is brought to you by instituteofexcellence.com, the home of Institute of Tourism and Small Business. This month, we've dropped a new course and that we've launched, and it's all around digital accessibility. Check it out and use the coupon code Tourism Hub to receive a listener love saving at the checkout. Now back to wrapping up today's episode. Preparation may not be glamorous, but as Jonathan Bernstein says, it's the foundation of resilience. Whether you're facing wildfires, financial setbacks, or workplace disruptions, being proactive can reduce damage, save lives, and help you recover faster. Crisis reminds us of life's unpredictability, but they also show us the power of preparation and community. Let's take these learnings and lessons and experiences to heart, plan for the unexpected, and support each other along the way. Thank you for joining me today. If today's discussion resonated with you, share it with someone who could also benefit from these insights. And remember, resilience isn't just about surviving, it's about doing better today than what we did yesterday in the face of challenges. Until next time, stay prepared, stay proactive, and remember, every step you take today helps build a stronger, more resilient future for your business. Until next time, my beautiful friends, stay excellent and stay really, really safe out there.